What's going on today, Haley?
Living the dream.
Love it. Me too. I have a question for you.
Okay.
What does health mean to you? Like, what is the purpose of all this, health-wise?
That's a big question. To me, it's about like feeling my best, right? I sort of have this, maybe it's not super glamorous, a little romantic view that like my body is my vessel. It's my receptor for life. So if it's doing well, then I'm experiencing the input in a really wonderful way, hopefully. I don't know. Did that answer the question?
Yes, absolutely. Um,
Cool.
for me, health is about maximizing my life's experiences, right? Like, I want to enjoy life as much as possible. And I sincerely believe and know, just because I witnessed it with my father, that poor health will massively impact your ability to enjoy life's experiences, right? It could be anything from as simple as just going to the store to going to an amusement park. Like, if you have poor health, it impacts everything. Um, and I've been thinking about that a lot. It's just like, how do I enjoy my life as much as possible? And I really think health is like a massive, massive thing that will either help you enhance it or could absolutely detract from it.
Hmm. I mean, I don't disagree. So then you might ask yourself, well, why are so many of us in poor health? Like, is there not enough belief that that is the case?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where perhaps you don't feel what it feels like until you get there, so it's really hard. Um,
Hmm. Wait, get where?
until you
In
you get to a point
dis-health
where you
or?
have better health.
Okay, I
It's
see.
like
Yeah, well, we kind of,
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Well, to say it's like someone who's like, I'm often like, you always feel great after a walk or some exercise, and it's like until someone actually does that, they have no idea what you're talking about. Like it's really hard for them to understand that until they experience it.
Right. And on a consistent basis, too, because I think it's very easy for us to kind of develop this version of amnesia or even not realize we're kind of settling into not feeling great all the time.
Yeah, and on the flip side, well, first off, yes, agreed. And I mean, I also think health is the. I mean, ultimately, it's freedom, right? Like when you have health, you can do anything you want, right? And to me, the most painful thing to hear from anyone, and again, I've seen it with my father, is like when you can't do things because of your health. Like that
Hmm.
to me is like, I mean, life is too short. As far as I know, we only get one go around here. Like I don't want to miss out on any life experiences, right? Whether it's with playing with my kids now, playing with their future kids, like my future like I don't want to miss out on anything because of my health. Um,
Right.
but then also,
Y-
I think the tricky part is we all know our health is important, and the fascinating thing is, sometimes we get stuck in these trivial, meaningless things that bother us so much, yet we totally forget about the bigger picture of our health, and we don't let that bother us. And I think the reason is because the very things that help us get through this absolutely insanely crazy game called life are the things that detract from our health, right? Like, there's no doubt food can help us get through a crazy day or crazy week or month. There's no doubt that other things can get in the way of our health. And I think that's the hard part because in the society we live in, it's tricky. There's no doubt life is hectic, it's overwhelming, it's exhausting, it's beautiful and sad all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I think also there's nothing glamorous about getting healthy, right? Like, and if you're doing it in a way that is sustainable, it's slow and it can be painstaking. And, the return on it is delayed. And I just don't think, well, A, we're not wired to really chase delayed gratification. And B, as you said, society nowadays doesn't lend itself to wanting that. We can get almost anything we want in a moment's notice, right? Like if you live in a big city, you don't have to wait two Prime days to get your delivery from Amazon. They'll bring it to your door by lunch. And it's just like, there's nothing, hot and flashy and glamorous about A, getting healthy, and B, taking care of your health. So I can see how it's easy to get distracted from that, especially if you are relying on those crutches to get you through some of the intensities of life.
Right. But I also do think it can be glamorous and fun in a way. Like, progress is fun. Progress is addicting. And I also think feeling good and feeling alive is something that is, a wonderful feeling. I'll never forget, years ago, I was at a doctor to get some blood drawn for a routine thing. And I'm like, is this going to hurt? It was in a hospital though. And she was like, is this going to hurt? I said, is this going to hurt? And she's like, do you know how many people in this building would love to feel a little pain right now? And like, it was a powerful reframe, because it's like, A, it'll be fine. It's like a little prick. But like, I think I actually feel most alive when I experience some sort of friction or resistance in my life on a day-to-day basis. And self-imposed, right? Like, whether it's pushing myself with exercise or movement, or eating something that I might not feel like eating, but then I wind up feeling empowered after. Like, that little tension, that friction, I think is what makes us feel alive. Whereas when we're using food, and we all do it and we've all done it, I don't know if that's actually living. I think that's just kind of existing.
Right. But I think the difference is you have to learn to frame that friction as a beneficial thing, as a good thing. Right. And I think for a lot of us, the idea that we're going to self-impose some friction, it's, why would I do that? Like, it's thinking about like the difference between somebody who pushes themselves, you mentioned in a workout, right? Who may tolerate the burn for the full interval, versus somebody who quits when the burn shows up. And I think learning that the burn doesn't mean stop, it means hang on. Right? Like, hang on, because better is on the other side. And you have to practice that. You have to learn that it's okay to feel the burn, and to hang on to it for a little while, because you get better for it. But you have to be able to identify that you're not seeing it that way. Then you have to practice reframing it.
It reminds me of the yoga wisdom that the pose doesn't start until you want to leave the pose, right? Until you're like ready to like, all right, I'm done. That's when the pose starts. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do think, if you think about also life in general, like, I do think part of happiness and feeling fulfilled is this atmosphere of growth. Because if life is always easy, I don't necessarily think that necessarily feels fulfilling, right? I do think challenges and problems, mental, physical, etc., are all part of a fulfilling and happy life. Like, if it's, if it's just smooth sailing, I don't necessarily think that's leads to happiness. So I think we do need to cultivate this atmosphere of growth, this atmosphere of challenge, this atmosphere of discomfort. And again, discomfort is all relative, right? We're not talking about marathons here. We're talking about just pushing yourself a little more than usual. Making that choice
Right.
you might not feel like making in the moment. I think, though, pursuing that atmosphere of growth and discomfort is going to lead to an ultimately happier, more fulfilling life.
Well, it's also part of health, right? Like, I think that's the other thing to be really clear about. It's not that people who have health or are healthy don't challenge themselves. It's that they've learned that that's a key component to sustaining their health.
Say it again. Like, you think for them, not challenging themselves, maintaining homeostasis is what they believe?
No, they continue to challenge themselves, right? Like, I often talk about with my clients, I'm like, look, it's not about arriving at a weight and just like there and then everything gets easy.
Right.
I try to instill like this idea that we evolve. We have to be able to continue to evolve. And how you do that is by noticing opportunities to challenge yourself and grow stronger, right? So it's not this idea that like, oh, people who are healthy or have health don't feel challenged or don't challenge themselves. They're still doing it too.
Gotcha. Right.
Right.
Totally.
So I think that's another thing. And when you think about like, oh, here's something I want to have, the people who have it, what do they do? What did they do to get there? And what do they do to stay there? And that's one of the things. They don't just like sail down easy street. They're challenging themselves.
Right. And so many of our clients are like, masters of the universe in their own right, and like, are so, successful professionally, etc. So they obviously understand the power of discomfort and pushing through, etc. It's like, and so many of us have that experience. It's just that when it comes to our health, we're using things that get in the way of it to cope with that discomfort. But one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do, besides maximizing your life experiences, is like when you focus on your health, when you invest in your fitness, like the time and effort, etc., it helps you do everything else better. Like, to me, that's so important to realize. Like, we have so many workaholics as clients, and they're scared to take time away from work, but taking time away to focus on you and your fitness is the ultimate booster. It helps you do those other things better, right? Time after time, people are like, I was so worried I didn't want to take time away. I thought my career and my business would suffer. Then they, prioritize their health, and then they wind up having their best years ever business-wise because they are a better version of themselves, right? And we're so obsessed with, the latest iPhone or computer or software, whatever it is. Like, ultimately, we are the ones running all this stuff. Like, and if you upgrade yourself, obviously you're going to upgrade everything you do in your life.
Yes.
And there's no doubt I'm a better husband and father and body tutor and just everything when I take care of myself. And we all know this on some level. But I think part of it is maybe we just also feel like if we can't do all of it, then why do anything? And that's a separate topic, but I do perhaps think that it's like start somewhere. Always something instead of all or nothing.
Definitely.
All right. Well,
so
anything else to add, Haley?
I don't think so. I do think that it takes some wrapping around in your head really to get it and trying it. Like, that's the other thing. I think let's just put that out there. Just try prioritizing something for your health, for yourself for a week and just see what happens, right? Like, you can't do any damage in a week, but you could gain some benefits in a week. So that would kind of be like the thing I'd want to leave here.
Yeah. And think about how you want your life to be also. Like, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but like, how do you want your life to be in the future? What do you envision for yourself? What are the things you want to do? What are some bucket list items? What are, like, taking a step back from our day-to-day is always helpful too. And, the reality is, as we get older, our health declines naturally. Obviously, we all are we're going to be a chronological age, but we can absolutely change our biological age, right? And like, I don't know, I've just become really fascinated and obsessed with like doing everything I can so I can maximize my time later on. So hopefully something in here strikes a chord, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked that video, check out the link for another great video right here.
And if you're having trouble staying consistent, if you feel like you know what to do but just can't seem to do it, I invite you to check out our coaching program. It's in the link below. We offer one-to-one accountability, coaching, support. I know you're going to love it, and let's go. Together we can make it happen.